Hey everybody, Adam here. Hope everyone's doing well. So I just started construction on a new house, but before I started that, I built myself a pretty big work table that I can also stand on and use as a scaffold, because I hate ladders and because you gotta have a good work surface whenever you're doing a big construction project. So in this video, I'm just gonna walk you through the whole process and show you exactly how I did it. All right, so here's the table. I've already been using it for at least a week or two. It's been working out really well. Very glad that I built this before I started anything else. So yeah, basically it's pretty simple construction. I started out by making two frames, basically the exact same way you would make a basic wall frame. I cut the 2x4s to 37 inches to get my desired height, spaced them 24 on center, sole plate, top plate, pretty simple stuff. Then I connected them together with 2x4 rafters, 4 feet long, and you'll notice that the rafters actually sit underneath the top plate next to the stud, which I know is kind of unusual, but it'll make sense as we move on through the other steps. After that, I ran some 2x4 joists across the top of the rafters, 8 feet. I think I spaced them about 9 inches apart. It's not really that important. As long as they're fairly evenly spaced, it'll be fine. After that, I put my 4 foot by 8 foot half-inch sheet of plywood on top, screwed it down around the edges. And then what I did was, on the corner studs and the center studs, I sistered a jack stud to the king studs underneath the rafter. And I was careful to cut them just a little bit longer than what they actually needed to be. I went for about 1/16 of an inch longer, so that I had to use a rubber mallet to friction fit them underneath the rafter in between the sole plate. And I did that so that I know for a fact that the weight of the rafters is being supported on the stud, not by the screws holding the rafter to the king stud. The point of this is that this is going to give me a lot of compressive strength on top of the table, so I don't have to worry about how much weight I'm putting on there. And also because I'm going to be standing on it, you know, I want to feel secure. I don't want to worry that it's going to collapse under me. Screws alone wouldn't be as good. Screws don't have very good shear strength, so when they get pressure put on them in a side-to-side fashion, they can easily break. Nails are better, but they can still bend. Anyway, so that's the point of adding those extra studs. After that, I added this 2x4 trim around all the edges. And that might seem like a superficial detail, but it's actually doing a couple of important things. Number one, it's adding shear strength to the table so it doesn't wobble side to side in either direction. It also is covering up the edge of the plywood, which is the most vulnerable part of the plywood. So it's giving it some extra protection. And then it does make it look a little bit nicer, but that wasn't the main point. And then lastly, I put these rungs along the narrow ends. That also adds shear strength to the table, takes a little more wobble out, as well as giving me a step that I can step up on to easily climb up onto the table. For me, one was plenty enough. If you're a shorter person, maybe you'll need 2. Yeah, so that's the general construction. I'm gonna do a few more things to this table in the not too distant future. Next thing I'm gonna do, I'm actually gonna do it today as soon as I finish recording this video. I'm gonna put a couple coats of cheap paint on it. That's gonna actually add a lot of protection to the wood. It'll make it last a lot longer. And I really gotta hurry up on that because it looks like we're actually gonna get some rain pretty soon. The other thing I'm gonna do is, once I start using this as a scaffold on a regular basis, I think I'm gonna add another 2x4 across these long ends right down the center, because it still has, when I climb up on it, it has just the tiniest bit of wobble in it, and I'd really like to just knock that out completely. So adding some extra 2x on the long ends should help take care of that wobble. And then lastly, once I'm finished with this foundation and walls start going up and I actually start working on the inside of the house, I'm going to put caster wheels along the bottom. I think I'll put one on each of the 4 corners and then one on each in the center on each side, so I can easily roll it around on the concrete. Out here on this ground they wouldn't do me any good, so there's no point right now, but once the concrete slab has been poured, they will definitely work well on that. So yeah, that's the whole project in a nutshell. If somebody watching this, if you make one for yourself, or if you do a variation on this design, let me know in the comments how it worked out for you. And yeah, I'll see all of you in the next video.